Hi, this is John with the Enphase training team. In this training, I want to talk about the IQ Battery 10C and how to avoid battery depletion. Let's get started. It's good to note that when the battery ships from Enphase, it typically has around a 30% state of charge, maybe even a little bit less. As it changes hands and eventually gets to a customer's home, you can typically see the state of charge somewhere around 20%. So let's talk a little bit about the DC connectors on the side of the IQ Battery 10C. So there's going to be 4 of them. There's going to be 1 per microinverter. It's super important to know that we do not want to plug in these DC connectors until we plan on commissioning the battery and the system. If you didn't know, when we plug these into the microinverters, a small current draw forms. Now, if we have 20% or less, and we don't plan on commissioning for, let's just say, a couple weeks or even a month, there is a chance that that small current draw will actually deplete the battery all the way down to 0%, which we do not want. So go ahead and keep those DC connectors zip tied and unplugged until we plan on commissioning. Now, let's talk a little bit about if we are ready to commission and some different scenarios where we can keep them plugged in versus where we must unplug them. So let's talk a little bit about if the local jurisdiction and utility requires disconnects and breakers to be turned off, meaning that we don't have PTO yet. So you can go ahead and plug in the DC connectors, go ahead and commission the system and the battery. And then at that point, you must turn off the battery and then unplug those DC disconnects. Now, that's going to prevent that small current draw, which is going to take the battery all the way down to a 0%. So again, if we do not have PTO and we must turn off all the disconnects and breakers, we want to make sure that we disconnect those DC connectors. Now, let's just say that we do not have to turn off the discos as well as the breakers in the combiner. So we can actually keep those DC connectors connected. And what's going to happen there is if the meter collar or consumption CTs are not installed, the battery will discharge to a 5% state of charge, but then it'll actually charge from the grid at a very low rate to maintain that 5%. Now, remember, this is if we keep the disconnects and breakers of the battery on. Now, if the meter collar or consumption CTs are installed, you can set the power export limit to 0 while we wait for that PTO. So that is going to be, again, that's the only scenario where we can keep those DC connectors connected and not have to unconnect those. Now, what we're also going to be doing for a precautionary reason is from the factory, we're going to be putting these warning labels on each 5 kilowatt hour battery on each side. So again, these are going to be a caution. Make sure that folks know that we do not want to connect these until we are ready to commission the IQ Battery 10C. I hope this video was helpful and kind of explains the power state of the IQ Battery 10C and how to leave it based on if you plan on commissioning, if you have the ability to keep the disconnects and breakers on versus if you do not have PTO. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.